Guys, thanks for joining me in this video, which is entitled A Guitar for Life, and there's a question mark with that, so I'm obviously asking myself a question. This guitar is something I've recently acquired, and this video basically is a review of the new guitar that I have, which is this absolutely stunning Meyrick Rhossili, made by Richard Meyrick Guitars up in Abergavenny. And the question I have for myself today really is this a guitar for life? I bought this thinking this will be the acoustic guitar, all the acoustic guitar that I'll ever need. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the guitar, how I came across Richard Meyrick, and also sort of my journey with gas, the dreaded gas. We all know what that means, which is gear acquisition syndrome. And I've been a heavy sufferer. I've been through a lot of acoustics. Now I'll talk by starting off about the guitar. It is an OM. It's made by Richard Meyrick, as I said, up in Abergavenny. All his guitars are made by hand. You can check out the links to the website below. And I came across Richard through Paul Dunn, the other Paul at Radioshop Pickups. And basically Paul did a guitar building course with him a couple of years ago where he made a parlor guitar. So my first experience of Richard Meyrick and his work really would be through seeing Paul's guitar and the guitar that he put together, which is absolutely beautiful. It's a parlor guitar, which isn't quite for me, really. I prefer, I usually go for dreadnoughts, but I also love the OM because, it's a shape that you can just enjoy in an armchair. You can enjoy it in a number of different positions. When you get a dreadnought, it feels like you've got to get kind of psyched up for it. It's a big instrument, you've got to set yourself up. But this is something I always fancied having an OM, which you could just play in a chair and just enjoy, but would also give you nearly all the volume of a dreadnought as well. So I came across Richard through that, and I started thinking about doing the course myself. And for whatever reason, because of perhaps geography or whatever, it wasn't that close to me that I could perhaps go along every week. In the end, I started thinking, well, maybe you could make me a guitar. And along the road, we ended up doing, as part of our Radioshop review YouTube series, we ended up going up to Abergavenny and just as guests to shoot a little bit with Richard and watch some aspects of guitar making. Now, as soon as I was in that back room or side room of Richard's where he keeps the wood and the timber for making future guitars, I started twitching, and I don't think it was long before I placed the order for my first build by Richard. And basically I went away, on that day I saw the woods there and I saw the process, and I was just like, I've got to have one of these. And fortunately Richard let me pay sort of by month, so that, whilst it was being made, I was paying off the guitar. So it was like really good of Richard to do that. Seeing Richard make the guitar and just hearing his knowledge on the subject of luthiery just knocked me out, really. And also his kind of take on what he does that's different to sort of the bigger makers, because I got to be honest, in the past I've been a bit of a brand snob, really. I usually go for Martins. I've never really bothered with Taylors for some reason. Either Martins, Guilds, or, I'd always fancied but never had owned a Collings. Those, I'm a real sort of brand snob, and I tend to go for the big makers who've got that big kudos. So I suppose before I'd been up there, I hadn't really thought about getting a guitar made by Richard, because I suppose it doesn't fit in with my kind of brand snobbery. But as soon as I was there, started talking to Richard and started seeing some of the processes, I realized that really when you buy an instrument from him, you're getting something, he's going a lot further than people like Martin can go, because it's a lot more personal a process, and also he's taken a lot more time over each instrument. I can't speak for Martin and people like this because I haven't done one of their factory tours, but they're making a lot of guitars in a short period of time. I'm not saying it's like one after the other, but it's pretty quick. I can't imagine they would have spent the time on making any individual guitar that Richard has put into this one. Okay, so as soon as I was on that tour of Richard's workshop and I just saw his processes and I saw the woods, it just felt like, oh, I've got to have one. I went away, I thought about it for a little bit, and I think, weeks later I then put a deposit on to make a Rhossili, because I was thinking, well, I've got my 40th birthday coming up. I'm now 40, so I'm pretty old, guys. Back then, it was 6 months before my 40th birthday. I was thinking, this is the perfect gift to myself, isn't it? Get myself a lovely acoustic made by him and This will be the guitar for life. Now I'll explain what that means now, a guitar for life, because I've had gas pretty bad in the past. I started off when I was 17 playing the guitar, and I had a Washburn D10. Now, I don't know where it is now, but that guitar was my guitar for like 15 years. And, you know, it's the only guitar I'd ever really sort of truly bonded with, because mainly it was the only guitar I could afford. So I had this Washburn, I learned to fingerpick on it, I learned to play the guitar on it, just beating out Beatles chords and so on. And, you know, I fully bonded with that guitar. I never really thought at all, oh, I wonder if there's a better guitar than this. And then some point in the sort of early 2000s, or mid sort of early 2000s, I was teaching back then in school, and a kid brought in a Takamine, and it kind of started something going, because I remember thinking, that's better than my Washburn. And as soon as I started thinking, maybe I should get a better acoustic. And I started all the research that we all do, going online, finding out what I could get for my money. And the budget went up and up and up. And I sold some electrics to pay for it. And I thought, right, it's time for the Washburn to go. It's time to get a better acoustic, okay? And I think what I went for in the end was a Martin D16 GT or RGT. Yeah, rosewood back, gloss top, all solid wood. And I was happy for a while. After a while, I started thinking, maybe there's something better than this. Sold that one, got something else, and it started off this process whereby I never really settled on a guitar for any length of time, and I was always looking for the next better guitar, okay? And I'll just give you a bit of a list here. I mean, this might make you sound like I got loads of money. I haven't, okay? Basically, I would sell a guitar and replace it with the next one, okay? So this list of guitars that I've owned is frightening, but it was one at a time, and I was just constantly replacing each one, looking for that better acoustic. So I probably had 3 Martin D28s, one time or another. I've had a D35. I've had, what else have I had? I've had treble 028. I've had a Guild D55. That really is one that shouldn't have got away. That was an absolutely stunning guitar. And a few others as well. And what I would find is that I was just on this kind of road where, you know, I would buy a guitar, I'd play it for a bit, but I was always evaluating, you know, is this the best acoustic that I can find? And then I would just go, oh no, it's not. And I would sell it. And after a while, I just found myself in this cycle where I wasn't giving any guitar any sort of decent length of time to even bond with it. Because I was just, even picking up a guitar and just strumming it and playing it, it's like I'm judging the guitar. Is this good enough to keep? Am I going to shift this on? And I just found myself in this pattern where I wasn't staying with one acoustic for any length of time. So I was never truly bonding with an instrument, okay? It doesn't sound right, does it? But you know what I mean? Where you learn new tunes on it, maybe you write new tunes on it, and you just become accustomed to this being your guitar, like a sort of, like a fifth limb, okay? So along this process, I was obviously searching for something. I was searching for that guitar for life, and just never finding it, basically. And I think probably along the way, I probably did find that guitar for life, but I didn't stay with any guitar for long enough to really bond with it. So, you know, it was like an unending mission. So with that in mind, when I started thinking, right, hang on, I'm going to get myself a Richard Meyrick. I'm going to get Richard to build the guitar that I want, okay? This for me then was going to be the guitar for life. And I also, you know, I was very tempted, I gotta be honest, to do something to the guitar that would actually prohibit me from selling it, okay? Like something garish, I put my name inside, or maybe, I don't know, it's not very tasteful, but something on there, but you know, like the initials or something. I don't usually like stuff like that. I like very sort of simply adorned instruments, but I kind of wanted to put something on there that would stop me from selling it, so that I would stay with the guitar. That's how bad the gas had got. That's how bad the cycle had actually got. But in the end, I just thought, no, if I've had a guitar made for me, my specs, I'm unlikely to sell it. And this is the guitar that I'm going to stick with, okay? I'm going to learn new tunes on it. I'm just going to play it to death. And so with that in mind, I actually started to go through the process of ordering this Meyrick. And the first day, I think, was the best day of all, because it was the day that I went up and I chose the woods. And you can see some pictures coming up and a little bit of footage as well. And basically at every stage, you know, I couldn't believe it that Richard would just come out and say, right, what do you want on the back and sides? Well, Indian rosewood. Okay, so he'd come up with 4 examples. Now, I can't imagine, you know, the amount of pleasure this gave me really just to have somebody and say, right, which piece of wood do you want? What, you know, which one do you like the look of? Okay. I can't imagine that happening at Martin or Collins, you know, unless you're like Eric Clapton or somebody coming in and you're just a massive artist and they're going to really roll the red carpet out. You know, what I was getting from Richard was the ability to choose every single thing. So I could choose the individual piece of mahogany from, say, 4, you know, examples, okay? I could choose the back and sides. I could choose the top. You know, he came out, I said, I got to choose the material. So he was like, right, cedar, do you want Adirondack spruce? Do you want Sitka spruce? I decided I wanted to go for Sitka spruce. At that time, I'd given Richard some pictures of an Collins OM2H, saying this is kind of what I want to make, something close to this. Definitely an OM because it's got that presence, it's got that kind of strummability, but it's also amazing for finger picking. And he said, right, you know, let's go with the Sitka spruce. And then he brought out the examples, and there were sort of 3 on the table. And then he went, oh, if you want to, you can pay a little bit extra and have this very, very closely grained one, which is going to be just an absolute cannon. I was like, yeah, I'll pay extra, you know, and just to have this amazing top. And I just chose every single aspect of this guitar, every single bit, you know, which basically means that there'll never be another guitar like this, I suppose, because everything is to my taste, okay? And I wanted something simple. I wanted something American rather than sort of British inspired. I wanted something like a classic American instrument, and I think that's what I've got. I'm going to run through the spec, okay? And then I'm going to tell you what I think of it. And you're also going to hear some examples, obviously. So on the top, we've got Sitka spruce, which is, I believe, is either Alaskan or Canadian, and it's extremely closely grained, okay? It's a very, very straight pattern. It's an absolutely incredible sounding soundboard. Tortoise shell pickguard. There's also a little ring of tortoise shell around the rosette. So we've got a very simple rosette. The binding is ivoroid binding, okay? It's obviously a natural nitrocellulose finish completely throughout, and it's very, very thin, okay? Because you can get nitro finishes which are thick. This is very, very thin. It's very, very resonant indeed. On the sides, I chose an almost sort of purplish example of an Indian rosewood back and sides that Richard had. And I wanted to go for this kind of, I call it like a zip strip. He said a lot of people go for, you know, when you go for a book match back, a lot of people just have they don't actually have a center strip, but I find it synonymous with sort of higher end guitars. So I wanted to go for a center strip, and that's what I did. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. So that's East Indian rosewood back and sides. This is African mahogany, I think. I'll have to remember now. I'll put the full specs below though. That's mahogany anyway, okay? One piece, obviously. Ebony fingerboard, ebony bridge, ebony peg head overlay, Grover button tuners, really, really super accurate, really, really well made. I've gone for a button here for the strap, and obviously you've got the traditional one down this end as well. What else is there? 4mm diameter markers, and they start at the 5th fret, so 5th, 7th, 9th, 12th, 15th and 17th, and his side markers as well. I've got it strung up with 12s from D'Addario. I always use D'Addario, just, you know, that's what I've settled on. And yeah, look at that. It's got the sort of inlaid Meyrick headstock logo there. Really classy. The rosette is there as well, which just says April 2019, Richard Meyrick. Now, once I'd ordered it, I was really then in a pretty privileged position because I got to go back and I filmed along the way some of the processes. So I would give Richard the heads up, right, I'm coming up in 2 weeks, what can we film? And we made a story of it basically. So I would go up and see him cutting out the sound hole, okay? I would go up and I would see him, you know, working on the neck. There are lots of different examples, and I'll put a little bit of footage as we go along through this video. I don't think that's just me. I mean, I think if I'd been in the area, obviously, Radioshop pickups and Richard, we are kind of friends, if you like. So, I don't think I got access more than somebody who lives in the area would, because I'm sure Richard would be sort of more than happy if you were making a guitar with him. Can I pop down and see a certain aspect? I'm sure he'd be more than welcoming to show somebody, this is me working on the back today or whatever. So I don't think it was like a sort of, we had like the rock star treatment because we know him quite well. I just think that, he's very, very accessible and works on your guitar, and you can pop in and see how it's getting on, but to do that, imagine doing, saying that to, say, Martin, I'm having a D18 built, or I'm buying one, can I come and have a look? I can't imagine that you'd be able to do that. So another thing I was totally over the moon with is when I went in to see the sound hole being cut out. He gave it to me as like a coaster. So I actually had the material, and I was just like, oh my god, this is incredible. For days I was just walking around with it, just looking at it like, this is going to be my guitar. Well, not that, but that's the part of the piece of wood. So it was just a hugely enriching process, choosing the wood, watching it being built, watching it come to fruition, and finally in the last few weeks, getting the heads up, right, this is the stage I'm at. I'm nearly done now, and you can pick it up. And I picked it up on my birthday. Did it? Was my birthday on a Friday or Saturday? I can't remember. I picked it up on a Saturday. Yeah, Saturday was my birthday. So I picked it up, I arranged it. He was good at, really, really good of him to come in on that Saturday and let me get it on my birthday, on my 40th. And I was absolutely blown away by it, as you can imagine. And there's a little bit of footage of me sort of picking it up. And I said to Richard, this isn't a kind of reshoot where it's like, right, let me have a look at it. Now let's do that pretend shot where I'm opening up the guitar case for the first time. This was genuine. I want you to capture my face as you open it up. Okay. So I took the guitar away, and now this comes onto this bit. Is this the guitar for life? Well, I think it could be. I could not see myself ever parting with this, because the process has been so personal that I'd be a fool to sell this on. Okay. I think this could be the instrument that will break that kind of gas cycle of evaluating instruments all the time. In the month I've had it, I've changed strings a couple of times just to go through the process. I like to kind of bond with the guitar by changing strings. Sounds weird, I know. I am weird, but there you are. I like to put the lemon oil on and things like this, right? I've also tweaked the setup a little bit, because I just fiddle with setups, okay? It's kind of what I do, I'm in the guitar trade. I love to do setups and things like that. So I actually got from Richard his setup specs, and I set it up exactly to that, because I put Richard under a little bit of pressure to deliver the guitar by my birthday. So I think there was a tiny bit of movement still in the guitar. So I've actually reset it up to his height specs, which I think were 1.75 mil on the treble side, 2.25 on the bass side. It's got about 0.325 mil relief, and I've also had a little look at the getting it right for me. Okay, and now I've done that, it's absolutely stunning. The setup out of the box was incredible. It's just that I'm a tinkerer, so I had to tinker. Okay, sorry, Richard. What does it play like? Well, you'll hear it in a second, but it's got a lot of volume. Strumming wise, that was a big concern. Will an OM be able to match a dreadnought for strumming? It does. It's got that presence, okay? You start to play big open chords, and it's got that boom, kind of like the Martin boom, where you just dig in and it's like, it's got that sort of boom, or bloom if you like, as well as another word. It really does have a really strong bass response, but not overpowering. You can strum this in a band and it's not boxy, okay? Finger picked, of course, absolutely stunning, and very, very resonant guitar. You play a big E chord and put your hand there, the whole thing is vibrating. The sides, the back, okay? You play a big A chord, that's always my test as well, put your hand there. The thing is just, and it goes on for a long time too, okay? The resonance is there, the character is there. It's a very, very nice guitar indeed. Couple of things. Would I change anything? It's a little narrower than classic OM spacing, both at the nut and the bridge, but I think that's cool actually, because if I'd have had a really wide, normal OM one, I probably would have found it a bit too wide. This is what I'm used to. I'm kind of an hour about whether perhaps I should have done that or not, but it's cool. It plays amazing. I really like it. One other thing, I might have changed the case. It came with a Hiscox case, which, to be honest, is really sensible, isn't it? It's not the most glamorous looking case in the world. I mean, they're very expensive and they're made in Britain and they're brilliant. You can have 10 guys can stand on this case without breaking the guitar or something like that, stupid like that. Or you can drive a car over it, I heard. Don't try it. Not with it inside. So it's a really, really good practical case. I suppose I was thinking, maybe I should change to something a bit flowerier, like the Gabe style cases with the, nice leather pattern on. But hey, I've accepted that now with the Hiscox case. It's really functional. It protects the guitar. That's what a case is for, isn't it? So I think that's one thing I would change. But what do I think of this guitar? I just love it. And it's mine, isn't it? No one's got a guitar like this. I think this guitar has broken the spell. Obviously, only time will tell. But I would be a fool to sell this guitar. And do you know what? I don't think I would. Because I think I'm enjoying it so much. I can barely walk past it without picking it up. And that hasn't happened for a very long time. This is also, the day I picked it up was the worst it's ever going to sound. Because, it just hasn't bedded in yet. Which is the good news really, isn't it? Because the more I play it, the better it'll sound, the more it opens up. Okay? I think it started to open up already. So it's sounding great now and it's only just started opening up. What's it going to sound like in 10 years time, 30 years time? I don't know. I think this is the guitar that I want to go on the journey with. I think it started opening up. I think it's actually gone a little bit darker as well, because it was very white, I felt like at the beginning. I think this has started to darken up. There's a couple of dings and scratches on there, okay, which are from playing, all right? Battle scars of playing, that's what you want from a guitar, isn't it? And some scratches on the tortoise shell. I'm not babying it, but I am looking after it, okay? But I don't know, I think this guitar is the one. I've said that before and people have gone, yeah, we believe you. But I don't know, this is highly personal to me. I would be a fool to sell this, and I'm really starting to bond with it by playing. You're bonding with a guitar when you're learning new tunes, and you're spending a lot of time playing it. It's like buying an album that you play to death for a week. That's exactly what's going on here. I've played this in 1 month, more than any guitar in a month at any time. So I think this is the one. I think this is what the guitar should be. And I think it's the keeper. I think this is the guitar for life. Okay? But we'll see. We'll only know in about 30, 40 years time, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I'm just going to enjoy playing it. And you're going to see it in lots of videos. But for those of you who are very patient, got this far of the video, it's time to hear some more clips of it. And please check out Richard Meyrick Guitars, because they're incredible, basically. And thanks to Richard for making it. And thanks to you guys for watching it. If you enjoyed the video, please hit subscribe and we'll see you again.